Hello.
Big curveball. Everybody on the internet thought it was a boxing match or something. So
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm right there with you. A lot of people did think that it was a boxing match. We never said that, but it was. You know what? It was fun. I mean, we've been working on it for a long time, and it was exciting to see both those guys come out. I've been a big fan of both of them for years, as most of us have, and to see those guys come out and see them both with big smiles on their faces and excited, and been working with them for months putting it together. So it was cool.
Is this a multi-fight deal with Tito, or is this a one-time deal right now?
Well, my guys will put an axe in my head if I talk about it too much, because we're going to do a big press conference on Monday where Tito will be there and I'll be there and Kevin K will be there from Spike, and we'll talk through all the specifics. But been working on it for a while, and it's exciting. I mean, you watch Tito walk out. How many times have we seen Tito walk out on Rampage? It's just exciting.
In the internet age, it's pretty impressive to keep something like that under wraps. How did you go about doing that? That kind of stuff always leaks out.
My dad always has said to me a million times, the best way to keep a secret is not tell anybody.
Right.
So there was a very, very limited number of people who knew about it. I mean, a shockingly low number of people given what we were trying to pull off. And we just kept it very quiet. And dealing with a guy like Rampage or dealing with a guy like Tito, it takes a lot of time. You don't just run in and go, hey, I got a great idea, how about we do this? There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but we got it together, and I'm as surprised as anybody, to tell you the truth, that it didn't break, and that so many people in different positions were making, the comments they were making about it, and stating with all the surety that certain things were going to happen and certain things would work and some wouldn't. And
the Roy Jones thing was genius. Was that a planned bait and switch, or how did that work? I mean, you have people looking this way, and
just have known Roy for an awfully long time.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of discussions with Roy. The Roy discussions about Roy Rampage have been going on.
That's a real thing that can still happen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Been talking to Roy for, I don't remember when we announced Rampage, but we were talking to Roy 3 months before we signed Rampage, and about that opportunity. So Roy's a very real possibility as well at some point.
I see that you got Rampage and Tito in there. What about Chuck?
Well, I think Chuck's still an executive vice president of the other organization, so that'd probably be really difficult to pull off.
Yeah, that would be.
Chandler's never had a finish. We've never seen really Rickles manhandled like that. You just signed this guy to a new contract. Got me thrilled about Chandler.
Well, look, I mean, Chandler had an epic finish against Alvarez in what I thought was literally, I still think it's the best mixed martial arts fight I've ever seen. And then he had the Gono finish, which was unbelievable. Chandler's a monster.
Rick Hahn was
crazy in the first round, and Hahn's no joke. I mean, Hahn's a Olympian and mowed through our lightweight tournament. Coming out from 70, was able to cut the weight, brought a big right hand with him. I know a lot of people have differing opinions, and it generates a lot of kind of back and forth, but I think Michael Chandler is the best lightweight in the world. And I say that with all due respect to other guys, because there are some guys that we have that are champions that I don't say, hey, he's the best in the world, best in Bellator. I'd like to see him fight other guys, but Chandler, man for man, you put him up against anybody in terms of his skill set, and I think he beats everybody in there in the world today that weighs 155 or below.
Big night for your wrestlers here. You have USA Wrestling as guests. Talk a little bit about the importance of wrestling to MMA and the importance of wrestling to the Olympics.
Well, I mean, it's a monster. I mean, I've been working with Jim Ravnack trying to put things together where we could help, where Spike could help, and Bellator could help in terms of trying to get as many people from a public perception as we can to start to voice their opinion about how important wrestling is. I mean, people don't recognize, if you're an MMA fan, a lot of people don't give credibility or recognize how important wrestling is. Wrestling, I mean, you look at the guys who were inside of our cage performing at an elite world class level. You look at Askren, you look at Chandler, you look at Mo, you look at Bunch, you look at Bubba, the list goes on and on and on. All of these guys came out of wrestling programs. You take away that pot of gold to a wrestler, you take away that Olympic dream, and the superstar athletes like the Moes, the Asprens, the Chandlers, these guys may not matriculate to wrestling and in turn may not end up mixed martial artists. You look at all the stats. Wrestling's one of the first 3 sports ever was in the Olympic Games. It's just from ancient Greece, wrestling has more participation in more countries than virtually any sport on earth. The thought of the Olympic Games without wrestling is, to me, it's inconceivable. And from a selfish perspective, I just think it would be a horrible disservice to mixed martial arts, to say nothing of what it would do to countless kids whose lives revolve around wrestling and young men whose lives revolve around wrestling. It's incredibly important.
What's the deal with what's latest with Eddie Alvarez?
You know, it's a tough situation. We'll see. You know, I've said many times, I remain hopeful that we're going to be able to figure out a way to settle it, because a bad settlement is always better than a good litigation. You know what I mean? And you know, I was upset by and offended by a lot of the comments that were made, which were patently untrue.
By him?
Yeah, but you know, the reality is that I've never been one to sit back and say, and I'm going to wait for trial to prove it. You know, I'm hopeful we can get it settled. It's not good for Bellator. It's not good for Ed. The best thing for Bellator and Ed would be to work this thing out and have Ed back in the Bellator cage, regardless of what's been said, because you can always put those kind of things behind us. So I remain hopeful it can get settled. We'll see.